I'm Nia Malika Henderson, and welcome to On Background. Twitter debuts on the New York Stock Exchange today, going public with an all-male board of directors. The company's top executives pretty much the same, with the exception of one woman who became general counsel in August. That lack of diversity is hardly unique to Twitter, but it's another high-profile example of how Silicon Valley remains perhaps the ultimate boys club. Here to discuss the challenges women face in the business is Sara. She's a co-founder of Girl Develop It, which teaches women software development. Also joining us is Stanford researcher Vivek Wadhwa. He's writing a book about women in the tech industry. Thank you both for joining me today. I want to start off, Sara, with the numbers. If you look at the landscape of the tech industry, here's what we find. 5.7% of U.S. women, 5.7% U.S. women working in the computer industry, 2% women with a degree in a high-tech field. And in terms of salaries, the amount that women earn for every dollar in Silicon Valley is 49 cents. Nationally, it's 77 cents. And here I thought the big bucks were out there in Silicon Valley. Sara, what has your experience been like in the tech industry, and do these numbers reflect what you've seen?
So yes, my experience has been that it's really rare to come across another female developer. One thing that I've observed in the community is that, at least in the software development community, is that no one thinks that's a good thing. And so in the past few years, I've seen some really great efforts, both on the parts of male and female developers, to encourage more women in computer science. And I'm hoping that 10 years from now we'll be reaping the benefits of that.
And one of the things we've seen, Vivek, with Twitter, they have gotten some flack here because they are going forward with their IPO today. No women on the board. They have said they will get a woman on the board after they go through with this IPO. You gave a statement to the New York Times, and you said this is the elite arrogance of the Silicon Valley mafia, the Twitter mafia. It's the same male chauvinistic thinking. The fact that they went to the IPO without a single woman on the board. How dare they? You got into a bit of a Twitter beef there with the CEO, Dick Costello. His response to you: Vivek Wadhwa is the carrot top of academic sources. I don't really know what that means. You don't really look like carrot top to me. But I want you to talk about, one of the things that these companies say is that there are not enough women in the pipeline. What's your sense of that, the pipeline context, the pipeline excuse?
It starts with the top. It starts with the board. It goes down from the executive quarters to senior management down. Let's start with the top now. Look at the board of Twitter. There's a French literature major, philosophy major, 2 MBAs, 2 college dropouts, and 2 techies. So they don't have a board filled with technology people. Why do they say that women have to have some special qualifications to be on their board? When they talk about filling the board, they talk about Madeleine Albright or Hillary Clinton. Oh my God, they have no one of that caliber on the board right now.
Right.
Dual standards that they have. And the problem is that when women look at the tech world, they see an all-male universe and they feel left out and they get discouraged. This is why they're not even entering STEM, because they see it as a boys' club and they're excluded from it. So it creates a system-wide problem. And this is why I've been arguing that we need to start with the top, fix the board. If the board was half women, and also minorities. I mean, I've been highlighting women, but the fact is there's no African American anywhere to be found in the executive team of Twitter or anywhere in its senior ranks. There are hardly any Hispanics throughout the company. Other groups are also left out, and this is a systematic problem that you're seeing in the technology industry, which must be fixed because it's damaging the technology industry. It's bad for our economy. It's bad for innovation.
We reached out to Twitter for a response to this. They did not give us one. I want you, Sara, to talk about the pipeline, the sort of pipeline context as well.
Yeah, so my most recent role, I was a CTO of a company called Levo League, which is a Gen Y, Gen Y LinkedIn geared towards women. And our development team was mostly women. In fact, as I was recruiting, I consciously went to hire men for some roles, because I believe that diversity and not women-only teams is what creates better platforms. So I had no problem finding dearth. And of course, that's just my personal situation. I do have quite a network. However, one thing that I've observed that works very well is if you feel that you don't have women in your pipeline, there's a great conference called JS Conf. It's a developer conference. It's the largest JavaScript conference in the world. And one thing that they pride themselves on is when they don't have women applicants to speak, they find them and they ask them. And I've seen that work very well for them and for other institutions that have picked that up since.
And one of the things, Vivek, that you often find is that diversity is actually good for business. It's good in terms of fostering creativity and innovation, which in fact is what the tech industry is all about.
Absolutely. And every data point you look at, when you have diverse boards, companies perform better. Whenever you have women involved, they are more sensible. My book is going to have lots of data in it. But every data point you look at shows that this is good for the companies themselves. So we're not saying they do it for affirmative action or for charity because it's a law. We do it because it's in the interest of the shareholders. It makes a lot of sense. I want to build on what Sara just said. One of the companies I'm on the board of used to be an all-male bunch of, it's a great company. It used to be all-male, and they started reading my articles and seeing the criticism I'm facing, so decided to look for women. And guess what? They've got two amazing women that have joined the company now. One is a PhD, and the other one happens to be one of the complete marketing genius. So just by looking and being sensitive to the fact that they need to have more balance, they've been able to do well. And they rave about the impact that these women have had on the company, on the culture of the company, and so on. So it's goodness all over. There's no reason not to do it.
Sara, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just to follow up on that. Yes, it is of course wonderful, and we all do have sisters and mothers that we want to promote. But this is a financial issue. I mean, in the U.S., women control 85%, sorry, of household spending. And most recently, Pinterest, which is the fastest growing social media platform currently, was valuated at over $3 billion. This isn't. This is a financial issue. Like, this is, if you want your company to do better business, and if you want to make more money, you need to put the people that are spending that money on your board.
Talking to Vivek, Wadhwa, and Sara Chips about women in the tech industry. Sara, I want to stick with you on this. This idea of a brogrammer. This is something that I've just encountered in reading up on the tech industry. What, in fact, is a brogrammer?
So the brogrammer concept came out earlier this past year, I think. And it was just the idea of a small group of, the problem is there's a party and there's a lot of really awesome people at them, and then the people that really suck sometimes get the most attention. And so there's a lot of guys were saying, we're all guys, this is a group of all guys, we're going to hang out, we're going to bro down, we're going to crush code, we're going to have an environment that's really just a bunch of dudes, kind of like fratty. And that was, some people met that with, oh, awesome's a lot, but most people met that with, that's, not how you would think most people would meet that.
Right, so it's sort of indicative of the problem. Vivek, Dan Ackerman, who's the editor of CNET, he tweeted a picture of the Worldwide Developers Conference that sort of explains the lack of diversity when it comes to women. So it's a picture of the line at the restroom. All men, the line is out the door, and no women in line here. And that seems to me indicative of the issue, a stark portrait there. And also this idea that if you're a woman, you probably don't feel very welcome in this industry. And once you get in it, perhaps you want to leave. I think the retention rates aren't very high for a lot of women.
It's worse than that. It's fine to just notice that there's a discrepancy there. For a book called Innovating Women that I crowd created, we had 500 women contributing to it. I heard horror stories about women going to these conferences and getting groped, getting raped, getting mistreated, getting laughed at. I mean, it's disgusting to see the behavior that happens. This brogrammer culture shows you what is acceptable to a small group within Silicon Valley that it's okay for them to behave like like brats and to have their own private clubs. It sort of becomes systematic. I mean, there is an African American woman, Adria Richards, who happened to go to a conference here in Silicon Valley and take a photo of some guys who were doing disgusting things up front, and she's been ostracized. She's been attacked like you won't believe. It's when I see the reaction that women, I mean, the treatment that women get, I'm really sickened to my stomach. This is why I've become so vocal about it, almost to a fault. I mean, the attacks that I made on Twitter's board, to me, it's symptomatic. My Sara talked about how the brogrammer thing started. Well, look at the boards. They're also bro boards, or whatever the right word might be. It's a boys' club where they go in, and it's people that they've hung out with since they were young, who they co-invested with. It's all a perpetuation of the same ills that you see in Silicon Valley. This is why I'm so vocal about it. It must change. That it is wrong. No civilized society can tolerate behavior like this.
Sara, you want to jump in?
Yeah, one thing. So it becomes a self-perpetuating culture. I too have heard a lot of the stories that Vivek has heard, and they've been horrifying. And I imagine being someone not in this community and seeing it from the outside and not wanting to be a part of it. Last night, someone showed me a picture of a strip club near Twitter hosting an IPO night last night, where if you were a Twitter employee, you got crazy discounts and all kinds of special service. And I can imagine being a girl walking down the street and seeing that and being like, man, I do not want to be a part of that. So when the culture thinks these things are okay, and the strip club had nothing to do with the company, I'm sure.
Right, it might have been just the strip club that's giving these discounts. It's not Twitter necessarily sanctioning that.
Exactly, but when you have, when obviously that becomes a good night for the strip club because so many people are going to come out, you can recognize that there may be a problem.
What is being done, Vivek, to address this problem? Do you see any movement? I mean, you're obviously vocal. You've got Sara here working as well. What's your sense?
Well, since I started speaking up about it, I came under intense attack from the Boys Club. On the other hand, the type of support I received from the community overall, women and men all across Silicon Valley and all across the world is amazing. I have been astonished at how much support I'm getting. People are fed up of this, that yes, you have an elite boys club on the boards, and then you have these programmers who are just spoiled boys. But then you have the rest of society which is speaking up about it. Step one to fixing any problem is to acknowledge that it exists, to admit that there's a real problem over here that's happening. Even a couple of the tech blogs which tried fighting back on it, they are, in Silicon Valley, you do have some spokespeople for the Boys Club. They've been attacked also by the general community. So there's a backlash happening to the people who've been defending the status quo. So just the fact that it's now at the surface, the fact that we're having this conversation, I mean, this is happening, you wouldn't expect the Washington Post to be talking about a problem in Silicon Valley like this, because normally you focus on what's happening in DC. The fact that we're having this conversation is a good thing because it's bringing it all to the surface, and we're making people very embarrassed. We're making people embarrassed about it. We're angering the quote, the mafia, as I call it, and we're now causing a change to happen. That I've been approached by many CEOs, because the majority of the CEOs of these companies do care.
Right.
They want to fix the problem. They've actually had several CEOs approach me, asking me how they can fix the problem. So good things are happening because we're having this discussion.
And Sara, advice to women who are thinking about, maybe they're in college, maybe they are brilliant computer science majors like you were at Penn State. What's your advice to them?
My advice is find a mentor. So last night I had a lovely conversation with a girl who recently was at a conference and who was assaulted by someone there. And she told me about some of the experiences that she's had about people commenting on her t-shirts, on people just generally being inappropriate. And it broke my heart because I wish that it broke my heart because I wanted, no one could have stopped it, right? But she had no one to talk to when this happened. She had no one to lean on, and she ended up getting attacked by the community, similar to to the experience that Vivek spoke about, where she needed to walk away from her computer for 5 days and walk away from work for 5 days to just not deal with the backlash. And it made me really think about how if she had a female mentor that had been there with her, it would not have been perfect, but it would have been better. So if you are a female and in the world of tech industry, find a mentor, find someone that can help you. And it's not all bad. It's going into software development is the best decision, hands down, I've ever made. And I'm part of a wonderful community and have very good friends that I respect and look up to, and they respect me as well. So it's about finding those people. So do your best and reach out to find women online, or find someone that you respect and reach out to them and ask if they'll be your mentor.
Thank you so much, Sara Chips of Girl Develop It, and Vivek Wadhwa of Stanford. Thank you guys for joining me today to talk about this very important topic. The conversation, we now move it to Twitter. Do you think sexism is a problem in the tech industry? If so, how should we begin to combat this issue? Tweet me your thoughts using that hashtag #postback. We'll see you back here tomorrow.